El Museo del Barrio's current exhibition, Something Beautiful, Reframing la Colección, is a presentation of their unique, complex, and culturally diverse permanent collection in over 2 decades. The exhibit presents 500 artworks, including new acquisitions and artist commissions spanning from all around the world, cutting across traditional, chronological, geographic, and media-specific categories. And here to share more, we welcome Something Beautiful, Reframing la Colección curator Susanna V. Temkin, and contributing artist Glendalys Medina. Hello and welcome.
Hi. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, well, thank you for bringing it all out into the open. This is wonderful. How long has this been in the making, Susanna?
So we've been working on this show for 3 years. In the middle of the pandemic, we were really thinking hard about El Museo's collection, which many people don't even realize we have a collection, and it's really vast. It spans and includes so many amazing objects, taino forms, contemporary video, painting, sculpture, you name it. So we really wanted to bring it forward and be able to have the public see and realize what an amazing gem El Museo has.
And the beauty is that it's on display for an entire year almost.
Yes, so the show is up for 10 months, and it's actually going to be changing. So, we hope people can come to the show, see it now, and we're going to be changing it so that you can see a bigger range of the collection.
So altogether, how vast is that collection? How many?
So we have over 8,500 objects.
Wow.
And I like to say growing. We're really interested in, continuing the momentum, and the first donation came in 1973, and here we are more than 50 years later, and that number has just grown and grown. So
that's amazing, all right? And the reason I thought it was important that we mention that is because you said it's going to be transformed regularly, right? Yeah. And so right now, I know we have one of the artists that are on display, but I just want the audience to understand that this exhibition, while it's still titled the same, it's going to have different work presented. And so what does that time span look like?
So the show opened in May, so we've been open now about 2 months. And in late fall, we'll be changing the galleries, but we'll never actually close. So you can always come in, you'll always be able to see the show, but if you're paying attention, slowly, gallery by gallery, we'll be shifting things.
All right, and so while it is open right now, I understand there's also a particular section that isn't on display for temporary reasons.
Yeah, right now we're having some maintenance issues, but you can still come visit the galleries. 4 of the galleries are open. You can see Glendalys' piece, and we're free and open to the public, so please come.
And that's a wonderful segue into Glendalys. Welcome, and thank you for being here with us.
Thank you for having me.
So let's talk about your pieces and what this means to you as an artist.
Well, it's an honor to work with El Museo every time. And it was an honor to be in the entryway. It's an awkward space, but I made it work. And the piece is about really honoring the Cahoba ritual, which is a Puerto Rican ritual that the Tainos used. A spiritual ritual, which is initiated when you open the doors, because the doorknobs are a replica of an antiquity that's also in the show.
Wow.
Yes, you can touch it.
You can touch it. Yeah,
it's interactive.
También.
Yeah, you can touch it.
And
not the art, not my piece.
Right.
Hanging on the wall.
Right.
But the doorknobs, yes.
Right. The intention behind the way it was actually mounted, I guess, right?
Yeah, it's mounted, it's doorknob, which were the purging sticks of the Tainos. So they would purge themselves of anything they had inside of them, and then they would take cahoba, which was a seed ground down from a tree with seashells and tobacco. They would sniff it, and they would have hallucinations. It was a psychoactive drug. And so the show, the entryway, is supposed to initiate that in a kind of a way. It's like the audience initiates it by opening the doors. You can see the cahoba tree on the left, and then you can see Atabe, which is the mother goddess, which is like the vision that you see, or, in my imagination, the vision that you see. But in actuality, you can see Atabe at El Museo if you want to. Yeah, and then I made her.
That's amazing. I just got the visual And I haven't even experienced it yet, but I love the intention, right? Yeah, no, obviously your artwork comes with a lot of spirituality behind it.
Yes, it does. And repetition. Yes.
And repetition in what sense?
Meaning I like rituals, I like systems, I like things that repeat themselves to kind of figure out how a system works and then break it down and recontextualize it.
And so how many of your pieces are included in this exhibition?
If we're counting the doorknobs,
Yeah, of course we're gonna count the doorknobs.
I guess 3 pieces if we count the tree too.
Maybe 4. The doorknobs, the sculpture, and the sort of
Like
it's
the
a
installation,
site-specific
yeah,
work,
it's a site-specific work.
And so this is part of the permanent collection.
I hope so.
Maybe one day. Maybe
All right,
this
that's what
will
I'm
be-
wanting to understand. Like you did like a fusion of, right, so explain that to us.
Yeah, so the show, again, we have this great number of works. I would say 90% of what you see is from El Museo's collection. We did borrow some works from our neighbors next door, the Museum of City of New York, from some artists, borrowing works that we thought, we really wanted to have them in dialogue with our collection. We thought it would fulfill things. And then we did 2 artist commissions, one with Glendalys Medina, and I also want to mention the other artist, Maria Gaspar, and her work is actually going to come down at the end of August. So if you want to see Maria's piece, you can run in. Glendalys's will be up the whole time because it really is such an important entry into the show with this like spiritual connection and a connection to the ancestors, really.
Yeah. And then you're East Harlem native, right?
No, I'm
No?
a Bronx native.
You're a Bronx native. She's a Bronx girl.
Actually, I'm a Puerto Rico native.
We can take it all the way back. Actually, let's take it even way back. You're a Taino.
Okay, take it all the way back to the end, to the beginning. So I live in East Harlem. I grew up in the Bronx. I was born in Puerto Rico.
Got it. All right. Yeah, so you're connected.
Yes.
You're bridged. How about that?
Many bridges.
You're bridged and you're the door. Oh, I like that. But Susanna, when you were curating this, like what story did you have in mind in telling? Because it seems that you're very deliberate about every single thing.
Oh, thank you. Well, and I should acknowledge it wasn't me alone, of course. So many people at El Museo have worked on it, but this was a co-curated exhibition with Chief Curator Rodrigo Mora and our curator Lee Sessions. And when we started looking at the collection, again, because it's so diverse, there's so many different stories to tell. So we started looking at El Museo's own foundation, its own history, to try and come up with some entry points. So as you move through the collection show, you'll see things that link, Taino, the Taino spirituality. That's a very big section called Okama Arakoel, which is actually in the Taino language and means calling to the ancestors. You'll also see sections about El Barrio and about the street, and that's really referencing like our urban foundation in Harlem, in East Harlem. You'll see a whole section about women artists because El Museo has a very strong history of exhibiting women artists, since the 70s and 80s. So that's, something else that we wanted to highlight. And then interspersed with all of these thematic sections, there's also artist spotlights. So in addition to works that we commissioned, we have spotlights on Mirna Baez, the great Puerto Rican printmaker and painter, a spotlight on Papo Colo, a spotlight on Alejandro Diaz with this really amazing performance documentation that he made called Dichos that was conducted here in New York. So a really wide variety, and we hope people can tease out those different threads and link it back to El Museo.
I saw there's images of a young Edith Chacon.
Yes.
And, I'm an Edith Chacon fan. Okay, when I was younger, I wanted to be Edith Chacon. Everybody used to tell me I used to look like Edith Chacon. But those images are like really like the young.
Yes.
That is like treasure right there.
Yeah, those are works by Antonio Lopez. We had a show of his a few years ago, a fashion icon. And of course, we had to include Edie's. She is something beautiful, so perfect for the exhibition.
And I also saw that there was an image of like a Museo del Barrio in its beginning stages with children in front of it, which I think even says established in 1969. 69. All right. Almost. I was like, yeah. Which I think is also something that our community needs to visit, because it's important that we understand like the development and what it took for it to even be where it's at now.
Yeah, there's a whole section dedicated to East Harlem, and it really spans almost 100 years of life in East Harlem. So you'll see really early works from the 19-teens all the way up to, today.
Nice. And so look at you, all smiles.
No, because up until right now, this very moment, I'm there right now.
Yeah,
and the work is
you connect us.
It's nice to show in your neighborhood museum.
It's important,
Yeah.
and it's important for us and you, the viewers, to understand that our stories can only matter if you show interest. So we're having these discussions with the hopes of enrolling you to make it your business to visit a Museo del Barrio. Some people get intimidated when they hear museum. Mm-hmm. And so just as a means of enlightening our viewers, what would you share with them in the welcoming that El Museo del Barrio presents?
I mean, I think El Museo it's such a special place, and so often I'm told by artists how, they've shown in other museums, which is wonderful, and I want all the artists to show in every museum. We shouldn't only be showing in El Museo, but that it feels like home for them. And while that sounds maybe a little bit cheesy, I do think there's something that's very resonant. I'm such an honor to work at El Museo.
And you've been there a while, right?
Yeah, 5 years, yeah.
That's 5 years of
counts,
dedication,
yes.
and through a pandemic.
And I'll say I was an intern 10 years ago, so it brought me back. And I think a lot of people, I mean, you too, Glendalys, you've worked with El Museo over the years. And I think once you develop a connection, I hope once you develop a connection and you visit, you'll continue to come back, continue to visit, and feel like, it's a place for everyone, for
Right.
you.
And it isn't just about the art exhibits either. There's programming as well. But I wanted your take on it, Glendalys,
About El
especially as an
Museo?
artist. Yeah,
El
especially as an
Museo,
artist.
all the security guards say hello to me. That's how welcoming it is. It's just like they say hello to me. I always feel welcome there. I always feel honored to show there. I always feel supported, especially with 3 curators. I always felt like, come on, I'm living my dream.
Superstar.
Yeah, I'm living my dream.
I'm like, 3 curators.
3 curators. Like, what do you do with 3 curators? Yeah, it's great. I've always felt like really, really welcome there. So.
Yeah, and then this particular exhibit really is what I'm trying to...
This particular
Yes,
exhibit is
yes.
really an honor because I open it, I
Right.
open it with my artwork. And because I'm using Taino imagery in my artwork, it feels like a great honor. It's like, wow, you asking me to do this? Great. That's why I wanted to replicate an antiquity so people could actually touch it, because when they unwrapped it for me, I was like, can I touch this? And they were like, sure. But inside, I thought to myself, I am touching a precious object that's like more precious than like touching a Da Vinci, because the Da Vinci doesn't have a ritual connected to it, not the same way that item does. So it's been a big honor. Yeah, I'm like stoked.
I know, you can see it. I'm reading it all over your energy. I'm excited too. I'm like, I can't wait to go touch those doorknobs.
Yeah, you can
I don't
touch
even know if
them.
they should be referenced as doorknobs, right?
No, they're not. They're
Quisa.
Quisa
Yes.
sticks.
And so, to someone who is in the next generation, right? Because I'm always trying to get the next generation to step outside of being devices. Like, how do we get them there? Like, what would you say to them in what they're going to experience
When they
stepping
walk in?
Yeah.
I would hope that they experience like a bigger connection to the material inside of the museum itself. I also, I was a kid that grew up in the Bronx and hardly ever went to a museum. And the only affiliation I had with art was public art. But what I would say is like El Museo is like, it's a school, it's welcoming. Come see the art, come see your history, especially if you have any kind of history or background from the diaspora or from the Caribbean, like come to the museum.
Yeah, and somos
It's free.
bilingües, so you know there shouldn't be a language barrier.
Exactly.
Everyone should really feel comfortable and themselves.
That's the
Especially
other
this
beauty.
month, right? Because this month, this July, they're going to have what is it called? Open house?
We have Uptown Bounce.
Uptown Bounce.
Uptown Bounce.
On
Uptown Bounce,
Wednesdays.
which is on Wednesdays. Is it Wednesdays or Thursdays?
Wednesdays.
It's Wednesdays, and it's from the entire month of July into the first August.
Yeah, and we're celebrating 50 years of hip hop.
50 years of hip hop. Hello. That is part of our urban culture too. You heard it here on Open. You guys, once again, thank you so much. Glendalys Medina, Susanna V. Temkin. We're talking about something beautiful, reframing La Colección, that is currently on display. Of course, Glendalys artwork is there along with others in the Something Beautiful Reframing La Colección exhibition, currently on display till March of 2024 at El Museo Del Barrio, located at 1230 5th Avenue on 104th Street. And for more information, you can visit elmuseo.org. Stay tuned. We have more Open when we return.